Hello there, Joey with Turtle Labs. Today we're going to discuss this new little guy here. This is the Redcat Ascent 18, and at first glance, this truck looks to be pretty well built. It's got some good dimensions and features to be a good crawler. Right out of the box, it's already got strong enough servo that it doesn't need an upgrade, which is kind of crazy because servos always have to be upgraded. It's already got a great approach and departure angle out of the box, and also paired with great ground clearance and obviously the portal axles. So very good setup. It's got some modest but still attractive little white wheels. They're plastic, not beadlocks or anything, but I mean, usually you're going to swap these out anyway. The tires are nice and sticky, but they're a little bit firm for the weight of this rig. But with that said, Redcat has released this vehicle with a bunch of upgrades, both in aluminum and brass. And once you start adding all that weight up, these firm tires are going to start feeling not so firm because of the weight of the vehicle. So I think they, I'm gonna assume that they thought ahead and assume people are going to upgrade these things. And these tires will probably perform really well after the upgrades. Not that they don't already anyway. Now one thing Redcat has advertised is this has metal bearings all throughout. And they never said that it's got all metal gears, but I was kind of hoping to see metal gears everywhere too. But once I opened up the transmission, I did notice the transmission gears are plastic. But that's not really a problem because if you break those plastic transmission gears, you can either buy new plastic ones or they also offer metal ones to put in place. The nice thing about the plastic ones is they're a little more quiet on the trail. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, and they're probably strong enough in the plastic form to hold up anyway. But we'll see with testing. One thing to note is the gearing had a little less grease than what I typically like to run, so I tossed a little red and tacky and everything just for a peace of mind. One thing I really like about this truck over other vehicles in the 1/24th, 1/18th scale size is it really feels more like a hobby grade vehicle. We've got some nice oil-filled shocks. It's not super bouncy like other vehicles we've got. They're really bouncy, and it's not going to look as real, or it's not going to be as predictable going down a trail. I love that when you drop this thing, it doesn't bounce. It just kind of soaks it up, and it's ready to go on to the next obstacle. This truck comes with a ring and pinion gear versus other manufacturers that offer a worm drive. And what's nice about that is this thing can free roll, whereas a worm drive will lock up unless the motor is moving. So on some of the other vehicles, like an SCX 24, if you stop, that thing is stopped, and that thing will not roll at all, which is nice for a crawler, but if you're trail riding with it, it's not like something that you need to keep in your backpack and then bring out once you get to your destination. You can hike with it and it'll keep up with you and crawl on little things along the way, because we know how fun that is versus just getting to the destination and walking past some obstacles that you wish you would played on and you don't feel like digging out of your backpack for that and then putting it back in your backpack. So this can keep up with you on the trail and crawl. Love it. Another great thing is it's got this huge 750 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty large for one of these size vehicles, and you get a really long runtime off of it. And it doesn't seem to throw it off as far as like a weight bias and tipping over and whatnot. If I'm going to be picky, one complaint that I have is the battery tray could have been mounted a little lower. I would like to see the upper rear links like slightly graze the battery tray versus having a huge gap there. So one of the upgrades would be adding a battery tray that will bring that battery down. And I mean, the battery is a pretty sizable piece when looking at the entire rig, so that could be a huge advantage as far as lowering your center of gravity. Another nice thing, the battery's got a JST connector, pretty common, easy to charge, easy to swap out with aftermarket ones. You don't have to cut and solder things to make like an aftermarket battery fit this thing. You just buy it and it should just plug in, as long as you get the right size battery that'll fit in the battery tray. Another thing that I like is the chassis got a couple of platforms where you can move electronics around to really adjust your weight bias to your kind of driving. That's a pretty nice option. The axle shafts in this are built using steel and feature CV joints. Now, one rare thing when a new RC car is released is typically you won't have any aftermarket support or spare parts or aftermarket parts to buy for 6 months to a year as people develop them. Well, Redcat has gone out of their way and created an entire catalog for this vehicle, and you can upgrade pretty much anything on this chassis right out of the gate with aluminum or brass parts. Unfortunately, I don't have any of that stuff, but you can purchase that stuff on Redcat, and I hope to add some of that stuff in the future to make this thing handle a little bit better on the trail and the rocks. The testing I did for this vehicle was on my personal rock crawling course, which was really designed for a more of a 1/10 scale size. And it really shined on that course too. Even out of the box, it handles great over my course and with great confidence. Very rarely did I see it fall off of a rock or tip over, and I can't wait to see what this thing will do when you add a couple upgrades to it. Overall, at the price point this thing is selling for, it really is the best thing on the market in the 1/24th to 1/18th scale if you want like a competition style crawler and not looking for a scale type rig. Another good thing is if you aren't into the hobby yet and you're looking to get into crawling or RC in general, RC crawling is very user friendly and easy to get into the hobby. And for the price this thing is selling for, this is a great starter RC car in general if you just want to get into RC at all. You can take this thing to work and drive on your desk over all kinds of little obstacles, though I don't recommend it if you want to keep your job. So maybe just play with it at home. You can find all kinds of little things to crawl over and make a little course out of just trash or things laying around the house because it's so small. With the great out-of-box performance, large battery size, and room to grow with a bunch of different upgrades, it doesn't really get much easier to make a decision on your first crawler. Well, anyway, that about sums up this video. I hope it helped you with the decision on your next RC purchase, whether it's this or something else. As always, thanks for watching and sticking around to the end, and I will see you on the next video.